let's jump right in. Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are doing a clear, engaging overview of what is new in Claude Code 2.1.160. If you've been integrating Claude Code into your daily terminal workflow, you know firsthand just how incredibly fast things are moving. Today, we're going to break down exactly what this update brings to the table and, honestly, more importantly, how it's going to change the way you interact with your codebase on a daily basis. Right off the bat, let's set the record straight. Version 2.1160 is not some flashy new AI model. If you came looking for a brand new intelligence benchmark, well, that's just not what this is. Instead, this is an absolutely crucial maturation of the tool itself. Because as AI coding assistants grow up, there's always this super delicate balancing act. You want the powerful, hands-off terminal automation, right? You want the AI to do the heavy lifting, but you absolutely do not want it pulling the rug out from under your system configurations. So this release is strictly focused on perfecting that balance through trust, rock-solid safety guardrails, and some serious workflow efficiency.
Okay, let's run through the agenda real quick. First, we've got the 2.1.160 overview. Second, safety and execution control. Third, smarter, faster workflows. Fourth, background agents fixed. And fifth, terminal fixes and ultra code. Let's hit it.
Starting with Section 1, the 2.1.160 overview, or the maturation arc.
And that brings us right to Section 2, safety and execution control, putting the user back in charge.
So we really need to put our serious hats on for a second here. System security in an automated terminal environment is literally paramount. We are talking about preventing unintended code execution that could just silently break your environment or honestly do much worse. Notice the massive shift in default behavior. Before this version, Claude actually had the ability to write to shell startup files, like your .cshn, .zlogin, or .bash login, or drop configuration straight into your global git config folder, completely silently without stopping to ask you. Because those files run automatically the second your shell starts, a bad write could execute code you never even approved. No way, right? Well, now the system behavior has changed. Claude explicitly hits pause and requires a prompt from you first before it touches any of these highly sensitive execution vectors. You are safely back in control.
And what's cool is this protection logic actually extends into an even broader safety net. It doesn't just stop at shell configs. This carries all the way into accept edits mode. For those of you who use it, accept edits is that high-speed autopilot mode where Claude just applies edits without asking you for permission every single time. But even when you have that autopilot engaged, Claude will now hit the brakes and pause before touching critical build tool config files that carry code execution power. We're talking your .npmrc, yarn variants, bunfig.toml, bazel configs, pre-commit hooks, and your dev container folders. Think of these like essential guardrails on a highway. They are there so you can drive way faster, knowing for sure you aren't going to accidentally veer off a cliff.
Moving right along to Section 3, Smarter, Faster Workflows featuring search and edit eliminations.
Now, adding all that safety definitely doesn't mean sacrificing your speed. In fact, this brilliantly illustrates how everyday developer workflows are actually getting faster. Previously, if you asked Claude to find something using grep, egrep, or fgrep in a single file, it would find the text, sure, but then it required a completely separate read action before it was actually allowed to edit that file. It was just a redundant step that bogged the whole interaction down. Well, that extra step completely eliminated. Now, if Claude searches a single file using grep, that search officially counts as having read the file. It can immediately proceed to editing the file directly. This makes those iterative search then edit loops remarkably snappy and just so much more intuitive.
Next up is Section 4, background agents fixed, restoring session reliability.
Let me just speak directly to the developer pain right here. There is literally nothing quite as soul-crushing as returning to your terminal after grabbing a coffee, only to find your background agent has completely dropped all your hard-earned context. It's the worst. Fortunately, version 2.1.16 totally squashes these specific bugs. Symptom 1, sessions dropping their entire chat history the second you restore them. Fixed. Symptom 2, the agent suddenly rerunning your original prompt as if it were starting totally fresh after sitting idle overnight. Fixed. Symptom 3, the agents list auto-updater causing a complete terminal freeze when you tried to exit. Fixed. And symptom 4, agents that had successfully resumed their work erroneously showing up as completed in your list. Also fixed. Restoring an overnight session is now reliable, it's stable, and it actually works exactly the way you'd expect.
Which finally brings us to Section 5, terminal fixes and ultra code.
This section is all about platform-specific polish. Let's look at these Windows and WSL fixes. If you've been using a terminal like MOBA Xterm, you might have noticed that copy on select was just failing. That's because the old method relied on OSC 52 escape codes, which some terminals flat out don't support. The new fix brilliantly routes this via PowerShell interrupt instead, meaning your clipboard works correctly again, simple as that. Furthermore, you know those annoying file://c drive hyperlinks that used to get mangled into totally broken paths? Yeah, that's fixed too. And for our international developers, the CJK input method editor composition box now correctly appears right at your input caret, rather than being awkwardly dumped way down in the bottom left corner of your screen. It is a massive quality of life upgrade for Windows environments.
And finally, we have a little terminology shift you definitely need to be aware of. The keyword used to trigger dynamic workflows has been renamed. It is no longer workflow. The new keyword is ultracode. When you type ultracode, you're going to see it highlighted in violet right in your prompt input, signaling that the dynamic workflow is locked in and active. Now, don't worry if you just want to describe what you want in plain conversational language, that still works perfectly. But if you want to explicitly trigger that specific dynamic mode, ultracode is your new violet highlighted standard.
So I want to leave you with this question today. Is your terminal workflow balancing speed with safety? Because with version 2.1.116, Claude Code takes a massive step toward being a truly mature, enterprise-grade daily driver, one that genuinely respects your system's boundaries while completely accelerating your edits. To get the absolute most out of these new protections, the workflow shortcuts, and that new ultracode keyword, I highly recommend reading the full manual. You can find the whole shebang over at claudemaster.net. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Get those tools updated, stay safe out there in the terminal, and I will see you next time.